What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Absolute chaos broke out the other night when people went to try to order the Switch 2. Websites were failing. Nintendo had to issue a statement saying they might not be able to deliver all of their own systems on release. And now we have some analysts looking at what could be in front of us as the biggest launch we've ever seen in gaming history. So a lot to go over. We're going to do that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sony because they've made kind of a strange move with PlayStation Plus with first-party games coming off the board, making some wonder if those franchises are actually poised for a return. And then Clair Obscur Expedition 33 launched the other day. And mostly I was just trying to find a way to put it in for the show with some kind of story because the game's really good and more people should know about it. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or the link in the description down below. We're going to start today with Madden 26 and College Football 26, as we did indeed get release dates for both. We can see this posted up. This is over on Polygon saying EA announced Thursday that this year's iteration of the franchise formerly known as NCAA Football would be released July 10th on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. It would be followed on August 14th by Madden, which will be available on, get this, Nintendo Switch 2, Windows PC, as well as PS5 and Xbox Series X. That's right, not only is it making its debut here on Nintendo's new platform, but also just platform for really since the Wii U, it's also leaving behind the PS4 and the Xbox One, finally cutting out the last generation devices, which is something people have been waiting for a while. One, to cut down on just the number of systems they're developing for, but also to leave behind things like the mechanical hard drive, some of the limitations of it was really 2013 hardware, right, when it came out. So interesting stuff there. Again, you can look towards those as we work through the summer, and I guess apparently they'll kind of be linked together, as there's even a massive release they're going to do for both versions of the game all at once, but it's EA, so not really surprising there. Also, we typically see what happens with the publishers and these fan projects. Usually they get shut down pretty quickly, sometimes quite violently, but in this case, it looks like the team who was working on Skyblivion, Bethesda, went a different route. We can see this posted up. This is over on Twitter X. Many of you sent me this story, by the way, because it is so different from what we usually see. It's actually pretty cool. Say huge thanks to our friends Bethesda Studios for their continued support of Skyblivion, as massive fans were beyond grateful for the generous gift of Oblivion Remastered game keys for our entire modding team. This means so much to us. Thank you for everything, Bethesda. If you're unaware, Skyblivion is sort of a volunteer project where the team is taking Oblivion and reworking it into Skyrim's engine and the game itself, that setup. So yeah, a little bit, kind of what we saw, basically remastering Oblivion to a degree and fixing some of the gameplay stuff and just making a whole new version of the game while staying true to the original, which yes is what we just saw again with Oblivion Remastered. Really cool though to see Bethesda go a different route than, as I mentioned, what we've seen before, which is usually just cease and desist and all kinds of crazy litigation until the team goes, we're not really getting paid for this, we're just volunteering, so we're just going to shut all of this down. Instead, yes, Oblivion Remastered comes out and Skyblivion still coming out. In fact, they mentioned Bethesda shows no intention of shutting it down. So really cool move there by Bethesda, even sending out keys. So hey, good stuff there all around though for Oblivion fans. We're gonna basically get two different versions of the game here. Oh, and here's a really cool launch title to look forward to for the Switch 2. It's coming from Shinin, who did Fast RMX when the Switch came out back in 2017. And of course they're returning. We can see this posted up with Fast Fusion. And get this, it looks like it's gonna be roughly $15. Okay, so the game itself, if you're unaware of Fast RMX, kind of like that F-Zero style game, but it looks super sharp, even on the original Switch, the current one, back in 2017. And in this case, they're gonna leverage 4K visuals, higher fidelity, and super fast racing gameplay with Fast Fusion. And at $15, I mean, that's a pretty good deal. So this is actually one of the games that I'm really looking forward to on the Switch 2, and I'll be picking it up immediately off of the eShop. One, it'll be a good way to kind of test out the eShop in general with the navigation, and two, it just looks like a blast. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Switch 2 pre-order debacle that happened. I mean, just chaos breaking out. It was disastrous as midnight Eastern time ticked over, and everyone was trying to rush to different websites to throw these systems in their cart and check out. People quickly realized that it just wasn't working. Now, some I did notice actually went through right away, but the vast majority of people ran into all kinds of problems to where you were on a page, you didn't know if it was working. It was like, oh, you're in line, like Walmart. You have your spot in line. Don't move, basically. Don't refresh this page. But it looked like the page wasn't moving, so you weren't sure. Best Buy was kind of the same thing, but they didn't go live until I think 12:30 a.m. Eastern time, so a bit of a delay there for them. Target was just broken, it felt like. Even if you got the system into your cart, it wasn't checking out correctly. And I just saw a bunch of people streaming at that time, just losing their mind, freaking out, trying to get one of these systems secured. Now remember, I was going for 2 Switch 2 systems. One to do a teardown on, one to just have and obviously play the games on for the generation with Nintendo. Did I get them? We'll get to that in a minute. I know many of you are on the edge of your seats right now if I was able to secure a Switch 2, I'm sure. But it looks like right now the demand for the Switch 2 is incredible. I mean, just in general online, you see people fighting for these things. But even at GameStops, I saw some saying, hey, you know what? I didn't get it online. I'm just going to the GameStop right now. They went there in the 2, 3 a.m. and just started standing in line. And many GameStops actually had a fair amount of stock as they were posting the numbers on their door as we sort of went over this ahead of time. And many of them had like 40, 50, 60, 70. I saw a few that posted over 100 Switch 2 systems that would be available. So it seemed like everyone who went out to GameStop and just stood there in line in person was able to secure a Switch 2 for the most part. But it seems Nintendo is having their own issues when it comes to availability. We can see this over on their website. Engadget noticed that there was an update about release day delivery, saying thank you to those of you who have already registered your interest in purchasing from My Nintendo Store. We're thrilled by the enthusiasm for Nintendo Switch 2. Due to the very high demand, we'll be working diligently to fill orders as product becomes available, but delivery by June 5th is not guaranteed. Your invitation email may arrive after the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. We'll confirm your shipping date upon purchase. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, Nintendo is going to start doing like an invitation process where you can sign up through their like My Nintendo website, and then they'll do orders specifically there. That hasn't happened yet. That actually starts here in a week and a half, 2 weeks. It's gonna start in the first like 10 days or so of May, but some are wondering, is this artificial scarcity by Nintendo? I actually don't think it is. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If Nintendo produced 8 million Switch 2 systems for launch, would you say that's artificial scarcity? I would not personally, and it looks like right now, Bloomberg thinks there's a chance they could hit that number. Now, right now, the article, I have it linked down below from Bloomberg with the report is paywalled. We also have My Nintendo News, which I'll link down below as well. And this was the analyst who did speak with Bloomberg about it, saying Nintendo will be able to produce between 6 and 8 million consoles by the time the Switch 2 hits shelves on June 5th. Sony's PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 are tied for the best launch to date, with each selling 4.5 million units in their first 2 months on the market. If this happens, the Switch 2 could end up being the biggest console launch in video gaming history. And I actually think they're going to do it. I wouldn't be shocked if in the first 2 months they did hit 6 to 7 million consoles sold. There have been thoughts around the idea of Nintendo maybe crossing, get this, 15 million consoles by the end of December, as in the first 6 months of the system being on sale, and that's at the $450 or $500 price point. Yes, the demand for the Switch 2 is through the roof right now, which I know many of you right now are just confused looking around like, hold on, I thought a lot of people weren't going to get this system. We've had this discussion many times. We're actually going to have it again, by the way, at the end of the show with another segment. The mainstream and the internet views, when they're like people are really plugged in, don't always align. Some people are looking at this saying, I liked Mario Kart 8 Deluxe a lot. I want the next Nintendo system. Mario Kart is launching with it. I'm going to buy that. That's the entire thought process right there. That's it. And they're like, oh, I'll get the $500 bundle. Great, it's already there. That's the entire. We're talking about game keys and all kinds of stuff right now with the Switch too. And I'm sure just the mainstream doesn't even know what that is. So it's one of those situations where things just don't really align, or as well, people just having FOMO wanting to buy in. Now, did I get a Switch 2 system? Actually, I did. I got 2 of them. It just somehow the stars aligned. I got one from Walmart, so I'll have that the following day. They said before 9 a.m. I will go to the Best Buy midnight release, as I got the other one there. So I will have one immediately at midnight that we can do a live stream and check out. And then I will have one for teardown purposes and experimentation, all kinds of stuff we can do with that system. So we'll have all bases covered there, and it should be a lot of fun June 5th when the system releases, and have all kinds of coverage around the hardware and the different games that will be available. Otherwise, though, if you have not got a pre-order, hopefully we see stock just kind of go in and out, and I have seen currently, Jake Randall is still following along here, trying to keep people up to date for any stock drops that happen at different retailers, so I would recommend following him as we head towards that June 5th release. Next up, let's talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is now out. And, you know, I was looking at this, and I started playing the game a bit, and then I kept playing, and realized, wow, I am like 6 hours into this thing already. I wanted to put it as a segment here, and I was trying to figure out how, and then I realized, oh, let's just look at Steam DB charts. Hopefully it did well, and guess what? Take a look. It did. It actually touched just under 52,000 concurrent players on Steam on its launch day. And again, this is during the week. We'll see how it does over the weekend. And keep in mind, okay, we've talked about expectations for these games. This is not considered a $100, $200, $300 million project, all right? It's priced at $50. It's from Sandful Interactive. It's their first release. And believe it or not, this is the funny part. It's like 30 or so people, and many of them are from Ubisoft. I know it sounds weird because they're like, Ubisoft can't make games. Like, no. Ubisoft may not be able to direct or lead games like this. We've talked about how there's just talent all over the industry right now, but they may not necessarily be able to make a game like this because that's just not what aligns with the vision of let's make $1 billion off of the game plus microtransactions plus battle passes. Listen, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a game you should not skip. I know it's a turn-based RPG. I get it, and that doesn't necessarily line up with people. I'm telling you guys, it's such a dynamic battle system. It is turn-based. It has this weird way of making it feel more actiony than it really is. And to be fair, there are a lot of the reactive-based elements to it where you'll dodge or parry. But maybe one of the most satisfying parries in the year right now, and it's with a turn-based RPG. Like when you hit the parry, which is smaller window than I'd like, but super rewarding when you parry everything maybe in a combo, and then you just obliterate the enemy all at once. And every battle just feels like really impactful. There's a lot of importance behind it. And yes, the music is great, although the balancing might be a little weird sometimes because it almost just like completely drowns out some of the voice acting, which maybe they can fix in a patch or so, but the music's very good. So far, the characters are interesting. The plot, a little slower in the beginning. Starts with like a festival, very Chrono Trigger-like. But then once they get moving, And it's just constant. So I'm getting a kick out of this game right now. I feel like I'm going to kind of like binge the game. I might be done this thing by the weekend at this point. I'm just rolling through it, having a hard time pulling myself away from it. So go play it. 52,000 Steam concurrent players. There's the news. But yeah, definitely check this game out. I think it's absolutely worth the pickup. Also, I'm definitely going to use some kind of bombastic or over-the-top words or something in the title just to get more people. We got to get people looking at this game. I'm telling you, it is that good. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra Tier, which does have a large library of games, third-party and first-party. And as usual, we see games cycle in and out. So as they put games into the service, they will typically remove titles, usually based on licensing or other agreements that run up. However, something odd is happening here because the recent list, as we head into May, includes some Sony titles, and I'm not really sure why, and it doesn't seem like I'm alone on that one. So you can see the list here. This is over on VGC, and okay, GTA 5, which by the way, that has gone into services and then come out of it constantly. We'll probably see it come back in again, don't worry, but like MotoGP 24, The Sims 4, but then you get to Resistance Fall of Man, Resistance 2, and then even further down from that, you have Infamous Second Son. So I look at this, I'm saying, what is going on here? Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2 are both streamed PlayStation 3 games. So they're not even titles you download and play on your PS5. You have to use like they have their PS3 system still set up in data centers, which sounds crazy, but that's just how it is with the lack of emulation currently they have for PS3 on the PS5. But then Infamous Second Son, that's a PS4 game. So I'm not sure why they're removing their own games from the service. I guess you could say the PS3 titles, hey, maybe some of their systems are actually failing. Like they don't have the capacity they need in order to stream PS3 games as much anymore. Let's start removing some that might even be popular. I mean, how else do you play Resistance 1 and 2? You just don't. But Infamous is a weird one. So I see some hopefulness right now that, oh wait, maybe Sony is going to do something with Resistance. And we've been saying that for so long now that I don't even want to get my hopes up, but it would be really cool if they did a Resistance collection. It'd be really cool if they did something with Infamous, because as enamored as they are with Spider-Man, which look, Spider-Man does really well, sells systems, great branding, I get it. There is something to building up your own superhero IP, basically, with Infamous, which, by the way, jumps around to different characters. You can just have an endless supply of conduits and stuff that you put the spotlight on for maybe a game, and you can play around with the powers. And it seems like there are a lot of things they could do with Infamous, but they just sort of put it on the shelf when here comes Spider-Man, that shows up, and yeah, sold really well, I get it. But if you are able to do something with Infamous and build that up, you don't have the massive licensing fee that's weighing down the entire project from Marvel with Spider-Man. So I'd like to think they have a plan there. I kind of don't, but I'm crossing my fingers anyway. If anything, for Resistance, because I'd be curious to see what something like that could look like now with some of the newer technology with these systems, at the very least, with a remastered collection, as Sony does like their remasters, but that's one that I don't think people would be very annoyed about. Or maybe just a new entry as we head towards the PlayStation 6, because you start development even 2 years ago, you might as well start setting it up for next gen with how long it takes. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Circana sales report for the month of March, and then a little bit into April. It's like the first week of April that's included, but this will actually give us a look as to how Assassin's Creed Shadows did overall in the US when it comes to sales. And we can take a look here at the top 20 or so, and we do have Assassin's Creed Shadows at the top. Remember, this would be 2-ish weeks, about half a month on the market for Assassin's Creed Shadows, as it came out towards the second half then of March. Right below that, MLB The Show 25. Monster Hunter Wilds got kicked down from number 1 down to the 3rd slot because of those 2 releases. Then WWE 2K25, then Split Fiction, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, PGA Tour 2K25, NBA 2K25, Bleach Rebirth of Souls, and then Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 fell from the 2nd slot all the way down to number 10. As for console sales, actually the lowest we've seen for a March since 2019. Kind of makes sense. I mean, the Switch does hold up a good chunk of the console market in the US alongside of PlayStation, and kind of Xbox, we know, has just been kind of tailing off. But the fact that a lot of people are indeed looking towards the Switch 2 with the announcement that it's a thing and Nintendo's going to be launching it here in June, makes sense that people would maybe shy away from buying the, I don't know, $300 to $350 Switch and look towards the Switch 2 here in a month or so. But in this case, for Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's now also the 2nd best-selling game of the year already. And that would put it then just behind Monster Hunter Wilds. And Wilds has done very, very well. Wouldn't shock me if by the end of the year, Assassin's Creed Shadows actually overtakes it. Not as like number 1, but just on the charts in general. Like, we're still expecting GTA 6 to come out this year, and something tells me that'll probably be the number 1 game overall in the year for sales. But once again, this just kind of shows the difference between the mainstream and then sort of the discourse online around a title like this, and just what brand strength can do for Ubisoft if they treat it correctly. Now, they also have Tencent involved quite a bit, but Tencent was mostly interested in things like Assassin's Creed, and this is exactly why, because it does have the ability to sell a ton of copies. And I do think overall, probably, if I had to take a guess for Shadows, probably finish up somewhere between 10 or 15 million copies. Wouldn't shock me if it ended up being between 15 and 20, though. Just overall, as we know, Ubisoft does like to run sales promotions, especially around the holiday, and this hasn't seen its first holiday season yet, so we'll find out more, I guess, towards the end of the year, say in November, December, when Assassin's Creed Shadows is probably like $20. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you were trying to pre-order a Switch 2, were you able to secure one? 60% of you say you were able to. 40%, though, unfortunately, said no. And that's the thing. I think there's still going to be a lot of people looking for the Switch 2 well into the summertime, and then certainly during the holiday season when a lot of just consumer buying and interest picks right back up. So I'm hoping Nintendo can really get stock moving as they go through the summertime before they get to that holiday time period. But it's very uncertain economic times right now, of course, with tariffs and other things. So hard to say in that regard. But Here's hoping that many people who are looking for the Switch 2 are able to find it closer to launch or not too long after. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day. We'll start here with the members comment. This is from Loom Doom, who says, I'm very happy that Expedition 33 did so well in reviews. It goes to show that not everything needs to be a bloated AAA experience. I hope it sells well so the floodgates open for more high quality AA games. Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. I also like the idea of this showing the industry, specifically Square Enix, that, hey, you know what? A turn-based RPG can work if you're willing to be creative around, to be honest, the presentation. I mean, that's mostly what Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is doing well, is showcasing the turn-based elements with, I think, a really cool and slick-looking UI, good camera angles, and very dynamic movement and player interaction during these battles. Like I said, the random encounters don't really feel boring ever. So, at least not now. Maybe after 50 hours, I'm like, okay, here we go, or here's dodge. But right now, when it's really important early on, it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope it just showcases what you can do, even with a team of 30 or so people at a more modest budget. And then we'll go over to the comment of the day. This was left by Majuv, says, the comment you made about people being easily tricked by 540p image or the Returnal 1080p image. As somebody who works in an R&D department for entertainment devices, you have no idea how easily people are tricked and how easy it is to mislead people with marketing BS. Unless you specifically work with projected images or have to check quality of PC screens, the human eye can so easily be tricked. That's why I also keep repeating that 8K is a marketing lie, as the human eye cannot discern anything above 5K. Anything above that looks nice on a spec sheet, but you literally cannot see the difference unless your gaming screen is the size of a small movie theater screen. Yeah, you know, at this point, I think 4K is good in terms of resolution numbers. You're right, 8K just is more marketing than anything else. I'd prefer 4K screens just be better in terms of quality. OLED to continue evolving, get brighter for, I'd like to say cheaper, but let's face it, everything's getting more expensive. But that's more my mindset, is just the overall clarity of the screen, the viewing angles, HDR in general, just getting everything better as opposed to let's go to 8K because it's just easier to market. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanna hear more about how those Switch 2 game cards just keep getting stranger and stranger as, well, more publishers talk about them. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.